Hello, fellow cyborgs. I am coming to you from Illville, so that's why I sound a little ill. Today I am rocking the Lauren Bacall voice. By the time you see this, I will, knock on wood, be completely healthy, so don't worry. Today we are here for a Persephone book review, and today we are going to be reviewing the Montana Stories by Katherine Mansfield. K.M. Rites of Life. Marriage, loss, hope fragmented, as hers is ending. This is a collection of some of Katherine Mansfield's last short stories, which were published between 1921 and 1928, and this is Persephone's 25th publication. The M papers look like this, and they really don't show up well on camera, but in life it's absolutely breathtaking, and it's called Stems and Looping Tendrils with Harebells, and it's a 1921 design. So as I said, these are some of the last short stories that Katherine Mansfield wrote. Most of these short stories were written in a Swiss village called Montana-Crans. That's where she went to convalesce as she was fighting tuberculosis, I think. And there she wrote a great many of these. In here are quite a few unfinished stories, as this collection, I think, really just wants to... Well, the stories are published in this volume in chronological order, so I think they wanted to chart her journey at the end of her life, her journey toward her death, if you will. If you want to be a little death geeky, you get to see which stories then really captured her imagination, or that she was going to be paid to write, and which had to be left by the wayside. I found a lot of those fragments to be really unsatisfying, but there was a couple or one fragment that was actually my favorite. I don't think that you should at all be dissuaded at picking up this collection simply because some of the short stories are not going to be complete works. I think most of the joy, at least the joy that I received with reading Katherine Mansfield, because yes, this was another 4 out of 5 star Persephone book. Persephone's just on a run with me with that. But what I enjoyed most about this collection was her writing style, her descriptive writing style. It was just like heartwarming. It made me feel like safe and cozy, and so I will gladly read a page or two of an unfinished work just for a bit more of that warm, cozy feeling. So I'm going to read you an excerpt from my favorite story, which is unfinished. The story is called A Married Man's Story. I really like this one because I thought it really captured the psychology of a character really well and how the mind wanders through things. So, I mean, no one's surprised. Psych major, you know. Outside, it is raining. I like to think of that cold, drenched window behind the blind, and beyond, the dark bushes in the garden, their broad leaves bright with rain, and beyond the fence, the gleaming road with the two hoarse little gutters singing against each other, and the wavering reflections of the lamps like fishes' tails. While I am here, I am there, lifting my face to the dim sky, and it seems to me it must be raining all over the world, that the whole earth is drenched, is sounding with a soft, quick patter, or hard, steady drumming, or gurgling, and something that is like sobbing and laughing mingled together, and that light, playful splashing that is of water falling into still lakes and flowing rivers. And all at one and the same moment, I am arriving in a strange city, slipping under the hood of a cab while the driver whips the cover off the breathing horse, running from shelter to shelter, dodging someone, swerving by someone else. I am conscious of tall houses, their doors and shutters sealed against the night, of dripping balconies and sodden flower pots. I am brushing through deserted gardens and falling into moist-smelling summer houses. You know how soft and almost crumbling the wood of a summer house is in the rain. I am standing on the dark quayside, giving my ticket into the wet, red hand of the old sailor in an oilskin. How strong the sea smells. How loudly the tied-up boat knocks against one another. I am crossing the wet stackyard, hooded in an old sack, carrying a lantern, while the house dog, like a soaking doormat, springs, shakes himself over me. And now I am walking along a deserted road. It is impossible to miss the puddles, and the trees are stirring. But one could go on with such a catalogue forever, on and on, until one lifted the single aurum lily leaf and discovered the tiny snails clinging, until one counted And what then? Sorry, I could just have continued on and read you the whole story if we didn't have the coughing interludes, bloopers at the end of the video. I think that gives you a flavor of the thing that I loved most about Katherine Mansfield's writing style. Her descriptions are very, I want to say whimsical and pure, but that sounds kind of ridiculous. I'll say it anyway. And very sensory and just My second favorite story in this collection is called At the Bay. It's one of the longest ones she has in there, and it's broken up from 12 different characters' perspectives, but the perspective changes, I thought, wandered between the characters almost geographically, and therefore a bit more seamlessly than, say, like the chapter jumps in George R.R. Martin, Song of Ice and Fire book. And in that as well, you get some really beautiful descriptions of the seaside and gardens and stuff like that. The themes within Katherine Mansfield's stories are very British, country life, family life, married life, so no magical realism of any kind. However, that does not leave this volume lacking in any sense. It's apparent to me that Katherine Mansfield really understood the human condition and the different facets of it, and you get to explore her brain space and her opinions on that in here, and you also get to see just all sorts of different people. Sometimes when, I don't know if you feel the same way, if you're reading something and a character does something outrageous or is outrageous, for a moment I think, well, that author's really putting the F in fiction there. But then I think, no, there's probably somebody just like that out there. Probably someone just like that. So keeping that in mind, you get to meet a lot of different people in Katherine Mansfield's The Montana Stories. All in all, I really enjoyed this volume, if only for Katherine Mansfield's writing style. At the time, I was a bit perturbed at the number of unfinished stories in here, especially toward the second half. There's a run of, I want to say, like 6 back-to-back of just unfinished stories, and so therefore kind of unsatisfying narratives. And so for a while, that was not my favorite. But you don't end on an unfinished story, which I was a bit afraid you would. And the stories in here, fragmented or no, are really worth your time. Needless to say, I will be picking up more Katherine Mansfield, and I would love recommendations. I'm looking at you, Holly, for what specific volume to pick up next. Thank you for watching and bearing with a different octave in which my voice is dwelling today. I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope that you get a chance to pick up a Persephone book in the near future. If you would please leave me a short story recommendation down in the comments below, I would really appreciate that, as I desperately enjoy short stories and I don't read enough of them. And my Goodreads can use some more books on my massive, nearly infinite to-read shelf. Have a lovely and less ill than I am week, and continue to be lovely. So beautiful. So not Canadian coughing into your hand, Amanda. From you're so beautiful. Such beautiful noises. All right, that'll do, pig.